And if we want to continue to lose to these other states, as the Shapiro administration continues to point out, we need to keep going down this path of overregulation, because that's what's going to happen. We're going to continue to lose. We, as House Republicans, don't see it that way. We see a bright future ahead if we can get some of these regulations out of the way. Look at permits, look at regulatory reform. Where can we cut some red tape? Where can we deliver on those permits in a more timely manner to make sure businesses aren't waiting 2 years to get a permit to build here in Pennsylvania? Because that is not anecdotal, that has happened. And those businesses have simply said, we're going to go somewhere else.
Things are beginning to take shape a little bit here with Pennsylvania's budget, and we're starting to see some kind of competing ideas coming from the Democrats in the House, the Senate Republicans, and even the governor himself, as the House Democrats have kind of morphed away a little bit from the governor's plan with some of their tax and spend proposals. But you, as a member of the House leadership team, are also looking at your own kind of package for what this budget should look like, the Pennsylvania Prosperity Plan. So just kind of overarching, what is this idea? What is the concept of this plan?
I think it's something that we as a Republican caucus have been talking about for some time now, and that is truly unleashing Pennsylvania's potential, growing our economy, bringing people back, growing our businesses, and giving more opportunity to families here in this Commonwealth. What we've seen over the past 3 years with the Shapiro administration is simply spend, spend, spend without any real revenue generation underneath that. That simply does not work. That's an equation that's going to equal failure, and we do not want to see that happen. So while we understand there are obligations within state government that we have to fund, right now we do not have the revenues to meet those needs. So we're proposing the Pennsylvania Prosperity Plan, which is a package of legislative bills that will grow Pennsylvania's economy by unleashing our energy industry, regulatory reform, streamlining government to expedite permitting and other things like that will help grow businesses, that will help bring businesses back to Pennsylvania, and then a student-centered education for all, whether that's lifeline scholarships or whatever the case may be. But the fundamental underneath that is school choice, because we know education isn't a one-size-fits-all, and students need to make sure that they have opportunities regardless of where they live. So that's the three-pronged approach under the Pennsylvania Prosperity Plan. And we do have legislation underneath all of that that our members have put forth and continue to develop to address those needs.
So let's kind of start with the last thing you said first, dive in a little bit more. On student-centered education, of course school choice being a part of that equation,
yes.
But how much does the funding of trade schools come into that, helping our folks who are going to maybe the less kind of thought of, well, you're going to graduate high school and then you're going to go to a 4-year college, maybe someone who's going to a community college. How does that all fit into this plan?
Well, I think whatever the case may be, whatever the career path a young person chooses, we should be providing that opportunity. Trade schools are a great alternative to the 4-year college. My children go to the tech school in Indiana County because they want to plot their own course in life, and I fully support that. And I know that, as I said, one size fits all doesn't work for education, whether it's in, the K through 12 realm or in higher education. So we need to make sure that whatever those opportunities are, whatever dreams a young person wants to pursue in this Commonwealth, we are giving them that opportunity.
And how important is that as you talk to job creators who are coming to the Commonwealth, like what's happening in Homer City, where you're building a power plant and data centers, and just kind of in general, how important is it that we have skilled workers in the pipeline to businesses that are thinking about moving to Pennsylvania?
It is vital and essential that we have a workforce that can meet the needs of those industries that could be coming to Pennsylvania. So we have to be out in front of it. That, again, is why tech schools, trade schools, and other industry educational resources that support those entities coming in here, we're out in front of that. So we see it coming, we see those opportunities coming, and we need to make sure that Pennsylvania is ready for those opportunities. So when those businesses do come here, and they want to come here, we just have to get some of the government permitting processes out of the way, streamline some things to make that happen. But we need to ultimately make sure we have the workforce to support them both now and in the future. And we believe that our plan will do that.
And I think it's powerful too that your children are in so some of your kids are
Yes.
in trade schools. They're you're not just kind of, this isn't lip service for you. This is real life. You are your own family. You're supporting your kids who want to work with their hands and work in a skilled trade because you believe in this so much and you believe in that future, that you just don't have to go to college to get ahead in life and to lead a happy career and make good money in this state.
Oh, absolutely. My wife and I have 4 children. Each of them are unique in their own way, and they are choosing different courses in life. Some want to go to trade school, one wants to go to film school, one is in pre-med and going on to med school, and so there's different pathways for each of them, and I support all those different pathways because our children are unique, and I appreciate that, as are many children, many young people across this Commonwealth. And again, we want to make sure that whatever path they plot in life, we are giving them the resources to be successful.
Excellent. And you also mentioned about government efficiency. Now, you're not necessarily talking about taking a chainsaw to state government here, but we are talking about making sure that government is working in the most efficient manner possible, correct?
Well, absolutely. We know that there are excessive regulations out there. Pennsylvania is one of the most regulated states in this nation. And that is a detriment to our business, our economy, and really bringing people back. They don't want to live in a state that overregulates, and businesses don't want to operate in a state that overregulates. And when we are known as one of the worst states for excessive regulation in the nation, that is a detriment to us. And if we want to continue to lose to these other states, as the Shapiro administration continues to point out, we need to keep going down this path of overregulation, because that's what's going to happen. We're going to continue to lose. We, as House Republicans, don't see it that way. We see a bright future ahead if we can get some of these regulations out of the way. And so we have, again, as part of our Pennsylvania Prosperity Plan, a package of bills to streamline some processes, to look at permits, look at regulatory reform. Where can we cut some red tape? Where can we deliver on those permits in a more timely manner to make sure businesses aren't waiting 2 years to get a permit to build here in Pennsylvania? Because that is not anecdotal, that has happened. And those businesses have simply said, we're going to go somewhere else. We need to stop that from happening, and we believe our plan will do that.
And talk a little bit too, government waste and fraud and abuse. We hear about that. I think every other week there's a story about whether it be on the federal government or the state government. How important is that to you, that whatever budget is passed has an eye towards ensuring that waste, fraud, and abuse are not happening in government, and we're spending resources to try and make sure that's not happening?
Well, I think that's, again, fundamentally important. If people are out there taking advantage of the system, when they are capable of going to work, paying their own bills, providing their own sustenance, then we need to make sure they're doing that, because there are people out there on waiting lists that have true needs, that aren't able to work or put food on the table for whatever reason that may be, but they're on a waiting list because there are people out there taking advantage of the system. We need to stop that and make sure that the people who truly need those services are able to get them.
And let's end up with the first issue that you mentioned in this Pennsylvania Prosperity Plan, and that is unleashing Pennsylvania's energy industry.
Yes.
So how vital is it to get rid of RGGI as kind of the first step in this process?
Well, again, that's really the core behind why our energy industry isn't growing here in Pennsylvania. All the way back to the Wolf administration in 2019, when he unilaterally entered into the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative without legislative approval. That basically shut the door on energy production, energy investment in Pennsylvania all these years. So we have seen billions of dollars, thousands of jobs go to our neighboring states that say, hey, come here. You're welcome to come here. We're not doing anything crazy like RGGI. When you're an energy exporter and you want to cap energy production, tax it out of existence, it doesn't make any sense, and it hasn't made any sense ever since the Wolf administration and now the Shapiro administration continuing that narrative to say, look, we have all this abundant natural resources here. We have natural gas that we can be powering the nation, powering the world, but we're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to bow down to some extremist and tax energy, tax these jobs, tax these families right out of Pennsylvania. So our plan is, number one, get rid of that kind of bad policy and any other policy that the administration puts forward that looks like that, because we've seen it firsthand. this industry will thrive on its own because we have the natural resources here in Pennsylvania that other states simply don't have. We just need to get government out of the way, and then we will see those billions of dollars, billions of investment and revenue generation come back to Pennsylvania, all those family-sustaining jobs and people. That will help lift everyone up, and that we see as a bright future for all Pennsylvania residents.
I'm struck a little bit by some of the difference between the Homer City announcement of these AI data centers, which has a source of power, natural gas being built with it.
Right.
But then the Amazon centers coming in, AI data centers in Luzerne and Bucks County. And not to diminish or take away from how great these projects are,
Yeah.
but in both these cases, it's not coming with the energy generation that Homer City is.
Right.
And so it seems like it's important now more than ever as we're getting these data centers, these large data centers that use a lot of electricity. Now's the time to make sure that we are upping our game in terms of our output.
Well, absolutely. They're not going to come here if we don't have the energy to fuel them. And that's why I think Homer City is so important, because they are creating grid level power as well as energy for the data centers. That grid level power is going to help to provide energy for all these other data centers and investments that we could have here in Pennsylvania. So I think we need to make sure, again, this gets back to streamlining processes, making sure that we are working with these business entities and their investments, not being a roadblock. The DEP can change its whole focus by actually helping these businesses be in compliance, help expedite these permitting processes so they can put shovels in the ground, create that energy we need to attract these businesses here, and then it blossoms for everyone.
Yeah, and no reason why that can't be happening in Pennsylvania other than some poor policy decisions,
Right.
which really could go away tomorrow.
And should. We see this, and we've seen it for years. I don't think we'd be having the discussion we're having around the state budget right now if revenues were where they should be. But simply put, because of bad policy like Reggie and everything else that has pushed energy out of Pennsylvania, all those tax dollars, all those revenues are going to other states rather than right here in our coffers.
And when you kind of just to bottom line this, at the end of the day, in the situation that we are in financially in Pennsylvania, where revenues are not keeping pace with spending,
Right.
you can either raise taxes, you can cut spending, or you can grow the economy.
Right.
And the Pennsylvania Prosperity Plan is about growing the economy.
Growing the economy. We still need to rein in the spending. The governor's approach is simply throw money at everything and problems will solve themselves, but it doesn't work like that. We've continued to see over the past 3 years that just throwing money at problems doesn't fix them. We need to have a plan to rein in that spending, fix some of these problems that we have out there, but also grow revenues to meet those essential needs for our communities and our families here in Pennsylvania.
And grow revenues without raising taxes.
Without
That's the key
raising
here.
taxes.
There's no hint of a tax increase in anything that you're
No,
looking at.
we don't need to do anything like that because we think our plan will bring business investment back to Pennsylvania, thus creating more jobs, bringing more people back to the Commonwealth, and growing our economy for everyone.
Well, it seems like a great plan and a great time to get it out there. Appreciate your time, and I know that we're going to be hearing a lot more about this. And great to see that there's a plan, there's an idea, and it involves growing the economy, and it's not just words. There's actually actions behind this.
Absolutely.
And they all are complementary to each other, and they all work together for that main goal of getting Pennsylvania back on financial footing.
Exactly.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks so much. This is the latest episode of the Struzzi Scoop.